Welcome into NFL Daily. My name is Trace Girouard. I'm so happy that you guys joined us on today's live show. We film this as a part of our live free agency frenzy, so if you missed out on it, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on your notifications. That way you know when here at Chat Sports we go live, and that way you can know what's going on around the league. Now get in the comment section for me, NFL fans. Shout out your favorite team, and on top of that, grade their free agency so far. Personally, I think that the Commanders and the Falcons have had some of the best free agency periods thus far. I'll tell you what my team is in a little bit, and I'll tell you what my free agency grade is here in a few moments. But let's kick it off with the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to give them a C grade. It's not because they haven't been active. It's just that the signings they've made, personally, in my opinion, don't necessarily move the needle for me. I do like the Sean Murphy-Bunting signing. Maybe you paid a little much, but he is a good football player. Bilal Nichols, the defensive tackle from the Las Vegas Raiders, 3 years, $21 million deal, 14.4 of that is guaranteed. But they are shoring up the interior defensive line with Justin Simmons as well. And Mack Wilson, a solid linebacker who spent some time with the Cleveland Browns. DJ Dallas staying in the division, leaving Seattle, headed down to the desert. And then on top of that, Keith Ismail, the center, a one-year deal. We'll let you know what the details are later. Atlanta Falcons, A- grade. If you ask me, they have had one of the best free agency periods. Like, it just straight up. And that's coming from somebody who isn't a Falcons fan, but you cannot deny what they have done this year. They brought in the biggest free agent this year. 4 years, $180 million, and 100 of that is guaranteed. Now, it is pretty similar to the contract that the New Orleans Saints gave Derek Carr last offseason, and that was a 3-year, $100 million deal with about $60 million in guarantees. So that is an interesting contract for Kirk Cousins. They also brought in Darnell Mooney to shore up that offensive talent with Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and now Darnell Mooney, all led by Kirk Cousins. Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson are building something special down in hot Atlanta, and that is a really interesting unit in the NFC South. But let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens, who brought in the king. That was their big-time free agency move. We're going to give them a B+ here at Chat Sports. But they did also give Justin Madubuike a 4-year, $98 million deal. Malik Harrison, 1 year. The full details still to be announced. But like I said, this deal right here, 2 years, $16 million, $9 million of that is guaranteed. I love this move to bring in a really talented running back who's still averaging over 4 yards a carry in many touchdowns. He can find the end zone. He can keep drives alive, and I think that's going to be extremely helpful for Lamar Jackson alongside Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. And Brett Urban, defensive end, 1-year deal, details to be announced. Now, the Buffalo Bills, we're giving them a D+. Just feels like they haven't been extremely active in the moves they have made. Like, you know, it's been weird. Like, they've let a lot of guys go. They cut a lot of players, but they did bring back Mitchell Trubisky. Or not bring back, but they did bring in Mitchell Trubisky, 2-year, $5.25 million, $2.7 guaranteed. They also brought in Nicholas Morrow, Mac Hollins, who, if you guys didn't know, he is a guy who likes to walk around without shoes. Might be kind of tough to do that out in Buffalo because it's pretty cold and there's ice and snow on the ground pretty often out there. The Carolina Panthers were given a C. I will give credit where it's due to the Panthers. They don't have, like, the sexiest roster. They don't have the sexiest situation. But they're building something out there, kind of feels like for the long term. Robert Hunt, the offensive lineman, one of the top offensive linemen in free agency this year, he inked a 5-year, $100 million contract. Wow, that is a lot of money. $63 million of that is guaranteed. And A'Shawn Robinson, a solid veteran defensive tackle who is a big guy. 3 years, $22.5 million. Josie Jewell, I love this addition at the linebacker room. Deontay Johnson gives Bryce Young another wide receiver, a veteran who's been around for a little bit. Hasn't been incredible, but hasn't been bad. But it is a nice change of scenery and another weapon for second-year quarterback now, Bryce Young. Well, let's talk about the Chicago Bears. In terms of free agency, B-. After the draft, I'm interested to see what we're going to grade them in terms of an offseason as a whole. But let's focus in on the free agency moves so far. Ryan Bates, an offensive tackle, traded to the Bears from the Bills for a 2024 fifth-round pick. Feels like it's a good move for Chicago, trying to protect possibly Caleb Williams. And then they also brought in DeAndre Swift. I love this addition in Chicago. Kevin Byard, he's a good free safety who's been around the league for some time. And Matt Pryor, an offensive tackle. Brett Rippon as well to be a backup quarterback possibly for Caleb Williams. It's not possibly. He is going to be the backup quarterback. So there's all the moves for Chicago. But let's talk about the Skyline Chili, capital of the world, Cincinnati. We're giving them a B for the Bengals. Cody Ford, he's an offensive tackle, signed a 1-year vet minimum deal pretty much. Drew Sample, 3 years, $10.5 million for Joe Burrow, gives him another weapon. Geno Stone, 2 years for $15 million feels like a steal. Like that feels like incredible value. He is a interception machine. And Zach Moss, I just want to say this. No one cares about your fantasy team, but Zach Moss helped me win a fantasy football championship. Shout out to the one guy in my team who's in my league who's still not paid me. But 2 years, $8 million deal for Zach Moss. He's a good player. And they also brought in Mike Gesicki, a tight end who most famously known for that awful gritty that he did in Miami. But 1 year, $2.5 million deal. Only $400,000 of that is guaranteed. And we got plenty of other teams to talk about, but before we do, got to give a big-time shout-out to Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy, and if you're unfamiliar with how it works, you just choose more or less based on some projected stat lines, and you win real money in real time. Now, personally, for Prize Picks, it's helped me stay engaged with some sports that I don't necessarily follow too much. Like, not a huge NBA guy. I'm trying to get more back into the MLB, but Prize Picks has helped me stay focused, stay locked in, and stay excited about watching some of these games. I love this deal that they have around James Harden, too. Prize Picks always has really cool promos that they're running, like a Taco Tuesday, Demons and Goblins. Whenever there's holidays, they always got something fun. Tomorrow is Pi Day, 3.14. So to celebrate, it's James Harden more than 3.14 points. Feels like that's pretty easy to happen. Jalen Suggs, that is a goblin pick, meaning it's a little bit easier to hit, a little bit lower of a payout, but hey, feels like that's a nice little projection right there. And Jamal Murray, we're going with less than 21.5 points. If you want to fade my picks, if you want to tail my picks, I don't care. Just do it with Prize Picks. And if you haven't been paying attention over the last minute or so, all of that information is in the comment section and description of this video. Shout out to Prize Picks for making today's show possible. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, let's talk about Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns, who are trying to make something happen. They were a really, really good team last year. That defense was firing on all cylinders, but they're adding some offensive firepower in Jerry Jeudy. They traded him for a 5th and a 6th round pick. That feels like a really good value for a wide receiver who's never really been the guy that we always wanted to see. However, I think a change of scenery might be really beneficial for him. I also want to talk about Jameis Winston. You see Zadarius Smith, Maurice Hurst as well, but J-Bo, he is headed to be the backup quarterback in Cleveland. There was a lot of talk about them bringing back Joe Flacco, running it back with him and whatnot. But I think that Winston is a really solid backup. He's proven he can be an incredible, if not the best guy for a locker room and on a team in this league. I really like that move for the Browns. Shelby Harris as well, 2-year, $9 million deal. That's why we're giving him a B+. Jerry, where you at, man? How's the Bahamas? How's your yacht? Got a long snapper. What else? You get an F. You get an F for FU, Jerry. What's going on, man? That's your Cowboys free agency. That's it. Nothing else. There you go. You get an F, Dallas. Sorry. Hope your owner can maybe get something going. But we're also giving an F to the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton, he left the New Orleans Saints to avoid a rebuild. He needs a quarterback, and funny enough, the trade that the Saints and the Broncos made are the reason they're not going to be able to pick a quarterback possibly, maybe not be able to trade up to move to get a prime quarterback, but they are bringing back Will Lutz, the kicker that they traded for last offseason. Malcolm Roach, a really nice run-stopping defensive tackle who is a very, very strong vibes guy. Like, he walks around in the Saints locker room carrying a speaker. He's a fun player. He was a UDFA coming out of Texas, and he's been really, really solid in that defensive line rotation in New Orleans. But then Lil Jordan Humphrey, the New Orleans to Denver pipeline, continues a one-year deal. Still don't have the details there. But Denver, you're getting an F from us at Chat Sports. Now, the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell were giving you a B for bite the kneecaps off. They did bring in Marcus Davenport, a defensive end, a one-year, $6.5 million deal. Not too long ago, just going to say it, he had more games in the suspension than he did sacks logged. So, $6.5 million for this kind of player who was a first-round pick by New Orleans. I think it's a nice value, but he just hasn't been the player that anybody's been expecting. Dan Skipper and Amik Robertson, also headed to the Motor City. I like this addition for the Lions, and I also really like what the Packers have done this offseason in the free agency period. A B+ from us here at Chat Sports. They were early in the free agency pool. They brought in Josh Jacobs on a 4-year, $48 million deal. Brought in Xavier McKinney, 4-year, $68 million deal. Keyshawn Nixon, 3 years, $18 million. And Corey Ballantyne, another DB, headed out there. And Tyler Davis, a 1-year, $1.835 million deal. And they did let Aaron Jones go, who's headed to a division rival. But we're giving him a B because it's been good, hasn't been great. Let's talk about the Houston Texans. They've been great. They have had a really, really good free agency period. We're giving them an A-. Dalton Schultz, 3 years, $36 million. Kymie Fairbairn, 3 years, $15.9 million. And then on top of that, Lonnie Johnson was with the Texans, with the Saints, back to Houston. Jeff Okudah, a good cornerback that can add some firepower with D'Amico Ryans. Danico Autry, a defensive tackle, earning some money. Azeez Al-Shir, Noah Brown, Tommy Townsend, and Delshon Phillips. And on top of that, the biggest move of all. 2 years, $49 million for what we had here at Chat Sports, the number 2 overall free agent target available in all of NFL free agency. Danielle Hunter earning that bag, and he has definitely earned it, filling in for Jonathan Grenard, who left in free agency as well. But let me know, who has had the best free agency so far? Talked about a handful of teams. We got a handful more to discuss. I want you to let me know in the comment section what you think and who you think has had the best free agency period. Now let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts. We're giving them a B grade, and we're going to go through the moves here in Indianapolis. Zaire Franklin, Michael Pittman, Tyquan Lewis, Grover Stewart, all getting some new money. And Rigoberto Sanchez, 3 years, $7.5 million. Kenny Moore, one of the top slot corners in the league. He's sticking around in Indy. Ronnie Harrison and Raekwon Davis as well, making some money in Indianapolis. And Gennard Avery, a 1-year deal. Outside linebacker. He's going to help boost that defense on that side of the ball. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, to be honest, it's been underwhelming there. Like, this was a team a lot of people thought Calvin Ridley was going to stick around. However, he is headed to the Motor City. We'll talk about him in a moment. But they did bring back Ezra Cleveland. They did trade for Mac Jones, which is kind of funny because Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, part of that same draft class. And now Mac Jones backing up the former first overall pick. Mitch Morse and Gabe Davis, former Buffalo Bills, headed down south to Duval, and Darnell Savage, Devin Duvernay, Ronald Darby, and D'Ernest Johnson are all also inking deals. D'Ernest Johnson's been around the league for a while, spent some time with Cleveland, but now he's headed back to Jacksonville. The Super Bowl champions, get the arrow chops in the chat, and if you hate the Chiefs, type FKC, but we're giving them a B grade. They did work out a deal with Drew Tranquill. They were able to retain Chris Jones on a 5-year, $158, almost $159 million deal. $101 million guaranteed. Could you imagine making $101 million guaranteed? That would be awesome. Irv Smith, the tight end, 1-year, $1.3 million deal. Deion Bush, he's sticking around. Patrick Mahomes cleared a little bit of cap space. I thought it was funny on social media. Everyone's like, oh, thank God he's clearing cap space. He's such a good guy. But, that's what you should be doing when you're one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league and all of your money is tied up with you. Let's talk about the Raiders. Raider Nation, we're giving you a B because it's not been bad, made some good signings, might have overpaid on a couple guys, but here's the thing. Amir Abdullah, running back that's getting paid very little money. The big signing for him, Christian Wilkins. This was a really, really good move, shoring up that defensive line. I think with him and Max Crosby, that could be one of the best defensive lines in the league. Gardner Minshew to compete with whoever they draft, be their backup. Are they going to draft a quarterback? I don't know what's going to happen there. But Harrison Bryant, 1 year, $3.25 million deal, and Kanai Muaga, the linebacker, is sticking around in Vegas. Now, the Chargers. We're giving you a C for Chargers, partially because it's been bad, but also partially because it kind of went well with the graphic. So the Gus Edwards signing, 2 years, $6.5 million. Will Dissly, 3 year, $14 million. Khalil Mack, they were able to retain him. They had to cut Mike Williams. They may have to move on from Keenan Allen and Joey Bosa, but we don't know what's going to happen there. If you think you know what's going to happen, type it in the comment section. But let's stick around in the West Coast. We're giving the Rams a B because they were able to retain Demarcus Robinson on a 1 year, $5 million deal. Kevin Dotson, a top-tier guard in free agency. And Jonah Jackson, 3 years, $51 million. 3 years, $48 million. Got about $100 million, almost $100 million between these two offensive guards. Hopefully the interior line can be a little bit better in protecting Matthew Stafford. But you also brought back Darius Williams, and then you also brought back Michael Holt in the defensive line. Now join our family here at Chat Sports because we have the best NFL, NBA, college football across the web. We give you guys videos every single day around your favorite teams and anything that's going on around the leagues that we cover. This is the one-stop shop to get everything you need to know. So I encourage you to subscribe, turn on your notifications. That way you never miss a thing. Let's go to the Miami Dolphins. South Beach, you're getting a B+. Because he brought in Jonnu Smith, 2 year, $10 million deal. Jake Bailey, the punter, sticking around, 2 year, $4.2 million. Robert Jones, 1 year deal. Anthony Walker, I love that addition for Mike McDaniel's team. Jalen Ramsey cleared about almost $20 million in cap space. Jordan Brooks, you're getting a 3 year, $30 million deal. Aaron Brewer, 3 year, $21 million. And Shaq Barrett sticking around in Florida. He's headed to Miami. Jordan Poyer released by the Buffalo Bills ahead of free agency. They also added Salvin Ahmed, Saron Neal, and Neville Gallimore. The Minnesota Vikings are getting a D+. Here are the moves that they made so far. Johnny Munt, a 1 year, $2.5 million deal. I love this addition of Jonathan Grenard. I think it's going to be a really nice fill for Kevin O'Connell's defense as to Blake Brendel to protect whoever their future quarterback is. But in terms of the defense, I also love this Andrew Van Ginkel and Blake Cashman signing. I think those are really good additions. Sam Darnold could be a good backup. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a starter, but he could be a good backup for you. They did bring in Aaron Jones from the Packers, headed from one division rival to another. So, booyah, that's you getting a D+ in Minnesota. The Pats were giving you a B, not for Belichick, but a B for it's been meh, beh, whatever you want to say. Hunter Henry, the Arkansas legend, 3 year, $30 million deal. Kendrick Bourne, 3 years, $19.5 million. Shout out to his agent for earning him that cash. Antonio Gibson, I like the addition. I'm not sold that he's a great running back still, but he is a good player. Mike Onwenu, he's an offensive guard that's coming in to help protect whoever their future quarterback's going to be. Jacoby Brissett, the backup quarterback, he is a solid, strong backup, and I like that move. Sion Takitaki, 2 years, $6.5 million deal. He was very impactful in Cleveland. Josh Uche, Austin Hooper, Anthony Jennings, and Armon Watts to round it out. Now, the New Orleans Saints, they've been very inactive because, quite frankly, they didn't have a lot of money to spend up until yesterday. But here's what they did. So Tyrann Mathieu, earlier in the week, he got a 2 year, $13 million extension. This was actually over the weekend. Demario Davis, 2 years, $17.25 million deal. So both of these players sticking around in New Orleans a little bit longer. Willie Gay, a steal of a signing, a really fast and energetic player. And Adam Prentice sticking around in the fullback room. Now the New York Giants, we're giving you a B for Day Bull. Day Bull. You see what I'm saying? You get a B. Casey Kreider, Gunnar Olszewski, John Runyon, Devin Singletary. I don't know if I like Devin Singletary replacing Saquon, but it's a interesting addition nonetheless. Friend of Chat Sports, Jermaine Illuminor, headed up to the Big Apple, but I love this trade for Brian Burns, a 5-year, $141 million deal. And Drew Lock, I actually love him as a backup quarterback. And hot take, might be better than Daniel Jones. Jalen Mills, Isaiah McKenzie to round out the Giants' moves. Let's kick it to the Jets, sticking up in New York, New Jersey now. Chuck Clark, the defensive back, Isaiah Oliver, Kenny Yeboah, and Greg the Leg Zuerlein headed to New York. And John Simpson, Javon Kinlaw moving from the West Coast up to the Northeast. Tyrod Taylor, I like that addition as a backup quarterback. And Lakey Fotu, a 1-year deal. But Thomas Morstead, he was a punter. He spent some time in New Orleans. He has now been with the Jets for a little bit of time. They liked what they saw, and they're going to keep him around. The Eagles. Howie Roseman has been doing some work. There's a little bit of chatter that maybe has been going on. I'm not here to sit here and make my opinion, but I'll tell you what, a B for keeping around Brandon Graham, Landon Dickerson getting a 4-year, $84 million extension, Bryce Huff, I love that addition, alongside Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and a lot of talented players. Saquon Barkley, their big splash free agency signing, sticking around in the NFC East. Zach Bond, a nice pass rusher, not great in coverage, but can get to the quarterback. Devontae Parker, a 1-year, less than $5 million deal, and a reunion with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who talks some mess about Philly fans, but took to Twitter and apologized to them after signing. The Steelers, you're getting a B+. In terms of the value, you might have made the best value signing. Russell Wilson for $1.2 million, the vet minimum deal. Wow, the Broncos are still paying him $38 million. Unbelievable. Patrick Queen, 3 years, $41 million deal. I really like this addition for Mike Tomlin's defense. And Miles Killebrew, the defensive back, 2 years, $6.5 million. Now, in terms of the team out in the Bay, B+ for the Bay. Colton McKivitz, 1 year, $7 million extension. Our guy Chase Sr. was not happy about this. He thought that this is a little bit of an overpay. You need to go get a better offensive tackle. I tend to agree with them. Arkansas legend Brandon Allen, backup quarterback, 1 year, $1.2 million deal. I love this Leonard Floyd addition. And on top of that, keeping Juwan Jennings. They also got George Odom, Jordan Elliott, Eric Kendricks, Malik Collins, and Kyle Juszczyk as well. They're keeping these guys around. You're getting a B+, San Francisco. Keep it moving, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Keeping it in the division, B- for the Seattle Seahawks. They were able to work out a deal with Tyler Lockett, 2 years, $34 million. Tight end Noah Fant, 2 years, $21 million. Leonard Williams, I think this is a big-time keep by them. I think it's a big-time move by being able to keep him around. Pharaoh Brown, Nick Harris, Artie Burns, Darrell Taylor, and Rayshawn Jenkins as well. And George Fant, the offensive tackle who played with Houston. He is rounding out their free agency moves through day 3. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you're getting a B+ because it's been some nice moves out there. They were able to keep Mike Evans around. They were able to ink a big-time deal for Baker Mayfield. This is very similar to Derek Carr's contract as well. The stats between him and Carr are very similar. Greg Gaines, Chase McLaughlin as well, and Chase Edmonds, Levante David, Jordan Whitehead to round out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers free agency. Tennessee, you're getting a B+. Maybe one of the best signings of the day, Calvin Ridley. But they also brought in Tony Pollard. They also got Lloyd Cushenberry, Chidobe Awuzie. You also got Kenneth Murray on a nice contract. Julius Chestnut, Sadiq Charles, Mason Rudolph, I like him as a backup quarterback option for Will Levis. And Calvin Ridley, 4-year, $92 million deal. About $50 million of that, give or take, is guaranteed. So there is that. And Nick Folk, a really good kicker inside the 50, B+ for the Music City. Washington, the nation's capital, you're getting a B+ from us here at Chat Sports. They got started off early. They brought in Zach Ertz before anybody else really could make some moves. 1 year, $5 million deal. Dorrance Armstrong, Tyler Biadasz staying in the division, following Dan Quinn up from Dallas to the Commanders. Frankie Louvu, a 3-year, $31 million deal. Austin Eckler, Brandon McManus, Nick Allegretti, Cleveland Ferrell, all really good players. Marcus Mariota, I actually like that as a backup quarterback option. Still has some things to offer and is a dual-threat quarterback. Dante Fowler, Tyler Ott, Jeremy Chin. I think this is really good value for him. Jeremy Reeves, Bobby Wagner. That is a big-time addition. He is not slowing down. He is getting better with age, and I love this move. For Washington, Jamison Crowder, the wide receiver, as well as getting a 1-year deal. So shout out your team and grade their free agency so far. My team, I'm a Saints fan. I think that they haven't had the best offseason. They also haven't had a lot of money to spend, so I expect them to get active at the draft. So my grade, you saw it earlier, was a D+. But guys, I encourage you to subscribe and lock us in. That way you never miss a thing around the NFL, NBA, or college football. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Trace Girouard. We'll see you next time.